They stole my name for bills indeed. My cold revenge made them beg and panic. Son, we'll do anything, I said. Stay out of my life. The welcome mat was gone, replaced with silence, bleach, and a rain-soaked plastic bag of my life. After 7 years bleeding for a flag, I came home expecting something. A porch light left on, a teary hug, maybe even a stiff nod from my stepdad. What I got was a motel voucher. My mother didn't cry, didn't smile. She didn't even meet my eyes. She handed me that cheap slip of paper like she was handing off a used tissue. You've been gone for years, Lucas, she said, her voice tight and airy, like she was narrating a wellness podcast. We moved on. We don't need your issues, your negativity, poisoning the energy in this house. The house she referred to was the same one I grew up in, the one my deployment checks helped pay for, the one now decorated in soft pink Himalayan salt lamps and pastel affirmations taped to every surface. Radiate peace. No trauma zone. My duffel bags, the sum total of my worldly possessions, sat in the rain next to the flower pots, already wet, already discarded, and taped to the door of my old bedroom in angry all-caps Sharpie. Storage room, no access! I stared at it, heart pounding. Somewhere inside that room were my medals, my journals, the last photos I had of guys who never made it back. And now it was a storage closet. No access. It wasn't just cruel, it was surgical. They hadn't just moved on, they'd amputated me. Neatly. Without anesthesia. Without ceremony. A son excised. And this wasn't a one-off shock. This was strategy. I would come to learn just how far it went. How they drained the joint bank account I left them access to just in case. How they refinanced the house in my name while I was out dodging bullets, pretending I still had a reason to come home. I was gone for too long, they said. I didn't vibrate high enough for their new reality. I brought chaotic male energy and disrupted the flow. I was blood. Now I was clutter, a contaminant. My mother hugged strangers on yoga retreats, but her son, her soldier, was an inconvenience. And yet, they still used my name when it suited them, still cashed the checks, still leaned on the myth of the hero son in polite conversation when it played well in their circles. But they didn't invite me to the table. They sent me to a motel with a fake smile and the scent of lemon disinfectant clinging to the doorknob after she shut it. They thought that was the end of the story. They had no idea what they'd just triggered. The motel room smelled of stale cigarettes and despair, a fitting coffin for the hopes I'd harbored of a warm welcome. Sleep was a cruel joke, each tick of the cheap plastic clock a hammer blow against my sanity. I replayed my mother's words, Todd's dismissive grunt, Maya's bored indifference over and over, searching for some flicker of misunderstanding, some nuance I'd missed in my exhaustion. There was none. It was as stark and brutal as the no access sign on my bedroom door. The peaceful energy they so desperately protected was apparently built on the foundation of my utter erasure. Dawn crept in, gray and indifferent, painting the peeling wallpaper with its depressing light. I had to go back. Not for them, not anymore, but for what was mine. For the pieces of my life they'd locked away like inconvenient truths. I showered, the lukewarm water doing little to wash away the grime of their rejection, and pulled on the same uniform I'd arrived in, a stark reminder of who I was and what they had so casually discarded. The house looked even more alien in the daylight. The radiate peace and no trauma zone signs taped to the windows felt like a sick mockery. I rang the bell. Silence. Knocked. More silence. Of course. Why would today be any different? I still had my old key, a tiny, forgotten piece of metal that suddenly felt like a weapon. It slid into the lock with a familiar click. Part of me expected an alarm to blare, a trap to spring, but there was only the same cloying scent of incense and aggressive lemon. Maya was in the kitchen, headphones clamped over her ears, lost in the glow of a laptop. My laptop, the one I'd saved for months to buy before my last tour. The anger that had been simmering in my gut flared hot and quick. I tapped on the kitchen window before letting myself in. She looked up, not startled but annoyed, like I was a persistent fly she couldn't swat. You should have texted, she said, pulling off her headphones with an exaggerated sigh, her voice dripping with the same bored disdain as the night before. I did, last night. You read it, I replied, keeping my own voice level, though it cost me. Oh, right, was busy. She shrugged, a perfect imitation of teenage apathy, though she was 21. She started to gather her things, clearly intending to flee. Mom's meditating. She said if you came back, you need to, align your intentions before you even try talking to her. And definitely don't bring your chaotic male energy upstairs. Chaotic male energy? I repeated, the words tasting like ash. Maya, what the hell happened to you? To all of you? She actually rolled her eyes. God, Lucas, you're so dramatic. Nothing happened. We just evolved. You were gone. Life went on. The house has, never been this calm. Don't ruin it. She pushed past me, her shoulder deliberately bumping mine, and disappeared up the stairs. I heard her bedroom door slam shut, a punctuation mark on her utter lack of empathy. A moment later, Todd emerged from the garage, a yoga mat tucked under his arm, wearing socks with sandals, a fashion crime that in any other circumstance might have been amusing. Today, it was just another layer of the surreal nightmare. He stopped dead when he saw me, his face hardening. There was no surprise, just a look that said, "You again?" I need to get into my room, Todd, I said, the words coming out clipped and hard. I need my things. He snorted, a small, dismissive sound. It's not your room anymore, Lucas. I told you. It's storage. And Mom doesn't want your disruptive presence upstairs. You need to respect her energetic boundaries. He actually used the phrase energetic boundaries. I wanted to laugh or scream or maybe both. My medals are in there, Todd. My service records. Personal belongings that have nothing to do with energy and everything to do with my life. It's all just stuff, he said, waving a dismissive hand. Material attachments. Mom says, you need to release them to find peace. He then added with a smug little smile, besides, we boxed up what we thought you'd really need. It's in the garage. Consider it a decluttering service. Good for your aura. He then proceeded to unroll his yoga mat in the middle of the living room floor, right where the couch used to be, the couch I'd offered to crash on. The audacity was breathtaking. This wasn't just a family dispute anymore. This was a calculated, systematic dismantling of my existence within these four walls. Todd's smug pronouncement about decluttering my life echoed in the sterile silence of the garage. He pointed a condescending thumb towards a dark corner, where three flimsy cardboard boxes slumped forlornly, bearing my name scrawled in thick black Sharpie, a grotesque parody of a care package. My heart sank. This was it? 7 years of my life, reduced to three pathetic boxes? I knelt, a knot of dread tightening in my stomach, and ripped open the first one. Inside, a chaotic jumble of old clothes, a faded band t-shirt I hadn't seen in years, a pair of worn-out jeans, a single sock. Mixed in were a few dog-eared paperbacks, some obsolete chargers that probably didn't fit any device I owned anymore, and one small, leather-bound photo album, the one containing pictures of my unit, of men who were more brothers to me than anyone in that damn house. My fingers trembled as I flipped through it, a wave of grief washing over me for faces I'd never see again. The other two boxes yielded a similarly depressing haul. More random clothes, a few dusty trinkets from my childhood that they clearly hadn't bothered to throw out with the rest of my supposed negativity, and a handful of my old college textbooks. That was it. My laptop, the one Maya was now casually using for college, was gone. My noise-canceling headphones, essential for any kind of peace on deployment, vanished. My tablet, my collection of music, years of digital photos, all vaporized as if they'd never existed. Where's the rest of it? I demanded, whirling back to face Todd, who was now engrossed in some bizarre stretching pose on his yoga mat, legs contorted at an unnatural angle. He grunted, not even bothering to look up. My electronics? My tools from the shed? The sentimental items Grandma gave me? He finally unwound himself with a sigh that reeked of patronizing superiority. Lucas, it's been years, he said, his voice dripping with false patience. You basically abandoned it all. We needed the space. Mom's energy work requires a clutter-free environment. Besides, he added, a sly smirk playing on his lips, Maya's getting so much use out of that old laptop. It's good for her studies. You wouldn't want to deprive your sister of educational resources, would you? Think of it as your contribution to her bright future. The sheer audacity of his gaslighting was staggering. That's not how it works, Todd. That was my property, I shot back, my voice rising despite my efforts to remain calm. You can't just decide what I need and dispose of the rest. He simply shrugged, his face a mask of serene indifference. Well, we did. Mom felt it was for the best. Less baggage for you, energetically speaking. He then picked up his water bottle, took a long, ostentatious swig, and sauntered back towards the garage door. I've got things to do. Positive affirmations don't manifest themselves. The door slammed shut behind him, the lock clicking with a chilling finality. Fuming, I stormed back inside, determined to confront my mother. If she was the spiritual guru of this madhouse, then she needed to answer for this. I bounded up the stairs, ignoring Maya's door, which was now blasting some mind-numbing pop music, and hammered on my mother's bedroom door, the master suite she now occupied alone, Todd having apparently been relegated to a guest room to preserve her sacred sleep space. "Mom, we need to talk, now," I yelled, past caring about her meditation or intentions. Her voice, when it finally came, was muffled, distant, yet laced with an icy irritation. "Lucas, I am in the middle of a very important energetic alignment. Your aggressive vibrations are deeply unsettling." I told Maya, "You need to come back when you have better intentions and a calmer aura." My aura. I practically choked on the word. "Mom, you've thrown out half my life. You've let Todd and Maya treat me like a stranger, a criminal. I just want to understand why. I want my things." There was a long pause. Then her voice, sharper now, cut through the door. "You are fixating on material possessions, Lucas. That is precisely why your energy doesn't fit here anymore. This house is a sanctuary of peace, and you're dragging in the mud of your past traumas and your military intensity. It took years to get this house to a high vibrational frequency after everything. You were gone, we cleansed, we moved on. So, my service, my sacrifices are just mud and military intensity to you now?" The words felt like shards of glass in my throat. "Is that what I am? A disruption to your precious frequency?" "Don't be dramatic," she snapped. "You always make things so difficult. If you would just try to understand the principles of energetic living." I couldn't listen anymore. It was like talking to a beautifully programmed robot, spouting new age platitudes while systematically destroying her own son. I slumped against the wall, defeated, the scent of her cleansing incense suddenly making me nauseous. As I headed back downstairs, defeated for the moment, Maya sauntered out of her room, phone pressed to her ear, mid-conversation. She saw me, rolled her eyes dramatically for what felt like the 100th time, and actually said into her phone, loud enough for me to hear, "Ugh, he's still here. Seriously, the drama. Some people just can't let go of their negativity. It was then, sitting on the bottom step, head in my hands, that a cold, sharp thought pierced through the fog of my anger and disbelief. The joint bank account, the one I'd kept open with Mom, diligently sending money home for household expenses and repairs for years, even when their calls became less frequent and their interest in my life waned to almost nothing. A sickening premonition crawled up my spine. They wouldn't. Would they? That cold dread from the bottom stair, the sickening premonition about the joint account. It wouldn't leave me. It gnawed at me through the rest of that agonizing morning as I sat in that soul-crushingly bleak motel room, the three pathetic boxes of my decluttered life mocking me from the corner. My phone felt like a lead weight in my hand, but I forced myself to open the banking app. The shared account I'd meticulously fed for years, the one designated for household emergencies and to help out while I was away. The one I'd naively trusted my mother to manage with integrity. The balance displayed on the screen hit me like a physical blow, knocking the air from my lungs. It was practically empty. Years of my contributions, chunks of my deployment pay I'd sacrificed small comforts for, had dwindled to almost nothing. Frantically, my fingers shaking, I scrolled through the transaction history. It was a sickening litany of their self-indulgence and my blind trust. Grocery deliveries from high-end organic stores I knew I couldn't afford on my salary, let alone them. Payments for Maya's suspiciously frequent online shopping sprees. Endless packages from fast fashion websites. Subscriptions to streaming services I'd never even heard of. And then, the real gut punch. Auto payments for all the household utilities. Electricity, water, gas, internet. Even their damn cable package with all the premium channels. All systematically siphoned from my money, from my sacrifice for months, possibly years. They hadn't just used my room for storage. They'd turned my bank account into their personal slush fund. A white-hot rage, cold and sharp, surged through me, eclipsing the grief and confusion. This wasn't just neglect. This was calculated theft, a betrayal so profound it left me breathless. I immediately called the bank, my voice tight with fury as I explained the situation to a bewildered customer service representative. Lock it. Lock the card, freeze the account, whatever you have to do. My name is on it, and these charges are unauthorized. The representative, bless her efficient soul, confirmed the account was indeed still active, my name prominently featured, and that yes, numerous utilities were on autopay. She locked the card instantly. My next call was to Mom, or rather, my attempt at a call. It went straight to voicemail, her saccharine voice cooing about spreading love and light and being unavailable to connect with negative frequencies at this time. Negative frequencies. Right. I sent a text instead, short and brutal. I know you've been using the joint account for all your bills. I've locked the card. How could you? Her reply, when it finally came an hour later, was a masterpiece of gaslighting and faux indignation. Lucas, darling, you're being so dramatic and hostile. We needed it to keep the house running. You weren't here. You never said not to use it for necessities. How else were we supposed to manage? You're making this so incredibly difficult and poisoning our family harmony with these accusations. Then, before I could even type a furious response, she blocked me. Blocked. Her own son, after years of financial exploitation. I tried Maya. Her response was a shrug emoji followed by, Lowell IDK, ask Mom, not my drama. Not her drama, of course not. She was too busy enjoying the fruits of my labor, probably wearing clothes bought with my money while using my stolen laptop. I was beyond livid. I grabbed my keys and stormed out of the motel, heading back to that cursed house. They wanted to talk about energy. I was about to bring a goddamn hurricane. I hammered on the door, and this time, Todd answered, his face already a mask of irritation. I locked the joint account, I snarled, pushing past him into the house. The one you've all been treating like your personal piggy bank. He actually had the audacity to look offended. You're being incredibly hostile, Lucas. We needed that money to maintain the energetic integrity of this home. Do you have any idea how expensive, organic, cruelty-free, high-vibrational food is? Or the cost of ethically sourced crystals to maintain the protective grid? I stared at him, speechless for a moment at the sheer, unadulterated lunacy of his words. You stole from me, Todd. You and Mom. That was my money, earned through sweat and blood, while you were here aligning your chakras and buying crap you didn't need. It's not stealing if it's family, he retorted, his voice rising, his face flushing a dull red. You abandoned your responsibilities here. We simply utilized available resources. Available resources? I laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. I'm not your resource anymore, Todd, and this isn't your family anymore. Not mine, anyway. That's when he snapped. He got right in my face, his breath smelling faintly of the incense that now choked the air. You need to leave, he seethed, his eyes narrowed. You are a toxic presence, and you're no longer welcome. Get out before I call the authorities and have you removed for trespassing and disturbing our peace. Trespassing? I barked out another laugh. This is rich. After everything, you're going to call the cops on me? A sudden, chilling thought, a memory from the transcript I'd read online about similar family betrayals, sparked in my mind. The house. My name wasn't just on the bank account. Years ago, I'd helped with the down payment, a significant chunk of my early savings, to secure this very house when Mom and Todd were struggling. My name was on the original paperwork. Was it still? Had they been that brazen? The moment I saw my name still listed on the house deed, not as a remnant, but as an active legal stakeholder, something inside me stopped. Not broke, not boiled, just locked into place. Cold, precise, final. This wasn't a paperwork error. This wasn't a forgotten form. This was architecture. Intentional. Designed. While they burned sage and preached detachment, they were quietly building their temple on my name, my credit, my history, my sacrifice, all the while treating me like a stain that needed scrubbing from their pristine healing space. I didn't scream. I didn't storm the house. I got methodical. A few hours later, I was on the phone with Ms. Albright, realtor, ex-military spouse, zero tolerance for bullshit. I explained the situation. She listened. Then she gave me power. If your name is on the deed, she said cool and calm, you can force a sale, or they can buy you out. It's their choice. But Either way, you're not stuck anymore. Good, I said. Draft the letter. They have 30 days. Market value or I initiate a forced sale. No sage, no full moons, just legal ink. I didn't knock on their door. I didn't call. I let the envelope do the talking. And for 24 hours, the silence was so complete it felt rehearsed. Then came the detonation. First, Maya. She didn't call. She performed. A voicemail worthy of an indie drama. Breathy sobs, dramatic pauses, accusations wrapped in shaky whispers. Lucas, how could you do this? I have finals. You're making us homeless. You're ruining everything. Her voice cracked. My patience didn't. Then, Todd. He didn't sob. He seethed. You ungrateful little. After everything we did for you, after we kept a roof over your damn head, I let him rant for 15 seconds. Then I cut in, sharp and cold. Todd, I have receipts. I built that roof. I paid that mortgage. I was the roof. You have 30 days. Or Zillow gets to tour your incense closet. Click. And then, finally, her, Lillian, the woman who told me her home couldn't handle my trauma energy. The same voice that once hummed lullabies now trembled like an empty teacup. Lucas, baby, please, what is this? A sale? This house is my work, my healing space. You made that decision for me the night you locked my life in a plastic bag on the porch, I said. No heat, just clarity. But where would we go, she whispered. Not my concern. Click. That should have been the end. But of course, it wasn't. Todd sent 3 more voice notes, this time trying a new strategy. Legal threats. We'll sue for abandonment, emotional distress. You left us. I forwarded them to Ms. Albright. She replied with 3 laughing emojis and a PDF titled, No, he can't. Maya posted a TikTok vaguely subtweeting me with a teary-eyed filter and text overlays like, when your own blood sells your home. Her comments were limited after someone pointed out the deed wasn't in her name. And then came the final stage, the spiritual spin cycle. Aunt Carol called, not to mediate, but to moralize. You're tearing the family apart, Lucas. I know they made mistakes, but this is cold. Don't you have any heart left? Oh, I had heart. It was just finally beating in my own chest, not theirs. Then came the collapse. Word spread. Clients ghosted. Her once bustling healing calendar turned blank. Refunds were requested. Her Facebook page, usually a manicured flow of affirmations and moon phase updates, became a war zone of cryptic posts and sympathy fishing captions. When betrayal poisons even sacred spaces, when your light is dimmed by those you gave everything. My cousin sent screenshots. Even the loyalists had questions now. The high-vibe empire was crumbling. Not because I'd attacked it, because I'd stopped holding it up. And in that wreckage, surrounded by lemon oil diffusers, velvet meditation cushions, and broken illusions, they finally had to see what happened when the person they discarded stopped being disposable. Their world was on fire. And for once, I wasn't the one getting burned. The fallout was fast, clean, surgical, exactly as Ms. Albright said it would be. The for sale sign stood like a monument on their perfect lawn, glaring against the pastel charm they'd curated for years. The neighbors saw, the clients vanished. The peace they preached dissolved into exposed wires and cracked tile. Mom's online aura cleansings? Gone. No more bookings. No more soothing tones over chamomile tea. Just silence. Then came the noise. Maya, frantic and flailing, flooded my inbox with tearful selfies and typo-riddled monologues. Her world apparently was crumbling. Her finals, her friends, her vibration. Todd left voicemails, confused, angry, rambling things. 1 minute threats, the next please. We'll find a way, man. Don't do this. You're overreacting. And Mom. One final script. A long, self-pitying message. How she didn't mean it like that. How I was too angry. How she panicked. It was all there. All the same notes. All too late. So I called once. Not out of hope, out of precision. I let them talk. Let them spend it all. The guilt, the fear, the bargaining. Their voices were brittle glass clinking against metal. When it ended, I said only this. You threw me out like trash. Now stay out of my life. Click, block, block, block. The house sold clean. The money came in, not a fortune, just enough. Enough for distance. I moved. Quietly. No social media. New number, new keys. Only one person has the address. She knows what to do if ghosts come knocking. There's no neat ending, no moral, no family healing. Sometimes, closure is the door you shut and lock in yourself. They wanted stillness, peace, no conflict, now they have it. Just not the kind they imagined.